Tell me, has success changed you at all?
I don't think it has. Actually, you know what? There was a point in time where
obviously COVID, social distancing, Victoria becomes the most locked down city in the world.
Yep.
So what does that feel like? You've run a business successfully 10 years. It's actually probably at a point where you should start scaling and automating and stepping back.
Yeah.
And you take this huge plunge. Like, give me the experience, the quantity.
I was at a soccer game playing, and I pulled up my phone, and we were worried. We didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
And weddings were still shooting. Everything was still normal. But a week before, when I was at this soccer game in Greensboro, get this message that Trump, or was it Trump? I don't know who the president was, but
Yeah, it was Trump.
Was it Trump?
Yeah.
They said gatherings are now limited to 50. And I saw that and my heart sank. I thought, okay, this is going to come here, and this is going to be bad. And then a week later, lockdowns kicked off. And like, I think from memory, that even just that weekend, I was on the phone with a bride at 5 p.m. Her wedding's the next day, and she's in tears. And this is just one bride out of 3 or 4 getting married the next day. And I'm on the phone with her. We're both listening to the lockdown announcement, and I there's nothing I can do, nothing. And then I'm on the phone with her. She's crying. I got my photographers calling me. What do we do? Do we shoot tomorrow? Are we not shooting? What's this rule? And bedlam, absolute bedlam. And I remember, like, from March till about November in 2020, we had maybe 2 weddings. Normally we'd have about 400 or 500. We had 2 weddings in that period. And I remember the 2 weddings was where you had only 5 guests allowed. And our photographer and the videographer were still considered guests. So they were the only ones witnessing these weddings plus the celebrant. And then we came out of lockdown in June. I don't know if you remember this at all, but in June, there was a period where lockdown stopped.
That's right.
And restrictions started to ease, but weddings were still shut down. You still couldn't have weddings with more than 5 guests. So I'm in this period where we've just dealt with months of postponements, brides threatening to take us to VCAT, consumer affairs over deposits. And like, you would think if weddings are off, there's nothing to do. Mate, every day I was working harder on admin, trying to figure out what to get these brides for new dates, trying to lock them in on new dates in the future. And then there's a VCAT thing coming here. There's a consumer affairs here. And it's like, guys, what do you want us to do exactly?
Yeah.
We can't refund you the deposit. It's not refundable. What we're providing is carry the deposit to a new date. We'll honor the pricing. We're not going to increase it. Just find a new date and let's postpone you. And for the most part, most couples were okay with that, because in the end they wanted to get married, and they weren't just having this issue with us. They were having it with their reception venue, their celebrants, their cars, everyone. So for that period, we're just postponing. That's all we could do. Keep postponing. We postponed them to, well, again, no one knew how long these lockdowns were going to go for. So we're just postponing indefinitely every 3-4 months. But obviously the restrictions started to ease in November in 2020. We then started smashing out all the weddings that were still in the pipeline. We then got to May 2021, and that's when it hurt hard, because that was the Delta variant, the one that apparently came from Sydney, from the furniture removalists. You remember everything when you're in the midst of it.
Yeah.
But that hurt, because it was almost at that point you just started to lose, I don't know if hope's the right word, but you kind of just got to a point where, okay, we're back in business, we're operating again. The restrictions were almost gone to an extent. The machine was back on. But then you just get to a point where all of a sudden it's just taken away from you all of a sudden. Again, the second time round. And I think it wasn't even a financial hurt, like, although it hurts when you're not making any money, but it was more just no one in my circle at the time actually understood what that felt like, because everyone was working for someone else. And for the most part, like, their lives all improved, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But no one actually understood what it was like to, you got 4 kids, you had a very successful business, You've just gone through the trenches for 8-9 months. You're literally being screamed at. What you're doing is wrong. Pay the deposit back. It's like, well, guys, if I pay you the deposit for 500 weddings, we're not going to be around to shoot the weddings that will come back when lockdowns hopefully end.
Yeah.
So you're sort of going, guys, our hands are tied. We can't give you what you're asking. But then for it to happen again in May, that's when it hurt.
Yeah,
that hurt a lot.
Yeah, let's unpack this because this is an interesting part. So like I remember for us, we were unfortunately not a very diversified healthcare business, being in the Sydney CBD, and I remember that it was the 20th of March 2020.
Yep.
I remember looking at our revenue line, and it was a plummet of 97% overnight. And up until that point, for us it had been 5 years in business, really successful run, things are going really well, and the challenge for us is we've got a cost base, we've got people's salaries, we've got people's own livelihood on the line, we've got our own fixed costs. At the time I'm married without a kid, but we've still got our own mortgage and stuff to deal with on that front. And, you think to yourself, you've worked so hard, okay, and everything that you go into business for, that independence, the freedom, the ability to make choices, and then the government step in and you realize actually we don't live in a democracy. we live in a dictatorship, a country that like all of a sudden just can tell us all to stay in your homes and you're not allowed to move anywhere. And it's almost like a utopian experience. So like apart from like, you're obviously there's brides who, let's be honest, with a wedding coming up to, what's the show, Bridezilla? That it's a known, phase of a woman's life to be quite stressed ahead of their wedding. Apart from them coming after you, VCAT hearings, challenging your policies and terms and conditions, how do you stay alive through that? Because one thing, like the biggest lesson I learned, and I remember I had a client prior to COVID who's sort of become a mentor post-COVID. He's had a $250 million exit out of his company quite recently. And he, in recent discussions after COVID, he then said to me, now you're a true entrepreneur. Now you're a true businessman because you've tasted what it's like when the fire gets lit all around you, and instead of like quitting, basically curling up into a ball and freezing and not being able to do anything. So what allowed you to get through it? And then, what did that do to your entrepreneurship, your ambition to continue to be in business, to grow other businesses? Obviously you've started another business since then. What does that look like for you?
It's I like what you just said. During weak times, the strong companies get stronger because generally speaking, if I frame it on the wedding photography industry, the smaller studios will fall off. They'll either jump ship and pursue other careers because a lot of them might just be mum and dads, working together as maybe a husband and wife photography team. But I think, what made us keep going was the fact that, okay, well, we are one of the largest studios in Australia. We're not going to fall. We're not going to crumble. We double down. And we did that. So, even coming out of lockdowns in 2021 or 2020, and then we reopened in the end of 2020, we doubled down on the advertising. We put almost double the budget we would normally put into the budget for the whole year just in a 6-month period. Yeah. Because we thought, well, if now's the time to not necessarily push out other studios, but if now's the time where lockdowns are done, everyone who wanted to get married now can get married. Let's get in front of them, So we really put ourselves out there. But to your point, how did we manage that period? Forget the business for a second, but mentally, how do you manage that period? I think it's just being distracted, like deliberately distracting yourself from what's actually happening around you was really important. And, some of my closest friendships now, actually came out of that period where, you know, you meet like-minded people who are literally going through the exact same thing you're going through. And all of a sudden they understood what was happening. They understood why you're feeling a certain way, what you're thinking, whereas, you know, some people just had no idea. But I think as a practical step, being distracted was probably the only way you could handle that situation, because I don't know anyone that could handle, you know, 9 months, then another 6 or 7 months of just constant, you know, negativity. Like there was even a point where, you know, we just didn't have the TV on at home. We just refused to put it on because every day was a constant reminder that you're not working, you won't work. And now in 2021, you working depends on who wants to take the vaccine or not. And then you're surrounded by Muppets who constantly argue with you saying, I'm not going to take the vaccine, it hasn't been tested. It's like, yeah, I get that, but I can't work because of people like you. Just take the vaccine and let's move on.
Yeah.
You know, you drink a can of Coke without questioning what's in it. Mate, just take the vaccine and let me have a job.
Yeah.
But I think the distraction of just, being distracted was critical, especially in 2021.
Okay.
2020 was a little different because the whole thing was a bit, I wouldn't say it was, it's a foreign experience. No one's ever been locked down before. So this concept of, you know, 5 kilometer radius and be home by 8 p.m. and playgrounds are shut, like it was an unusual feeling. But I think when 2021's lockdown kicked off, you knew how hard 2020 was. It was almost just, okay, how am I going to stomach this period? But that's where the next business venture came from. And that was purely drawn out of trying to be distracted.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go there in a sec. I got a great example because I think there's something that people watching can really benefit from this story is like from what I'm hearing from the story you've just told about where you were up to in 2020 and how many weddings you were still shooting. You've stayed lean and nimble.
Yeah.
Like you don't have exorbitant amounts of debt, expenses. So really you've run a business with a really healthy cash flow, and you've been able to, let's say, tread water or hibernate for the good times to come again.
Yep.
All right. There's a great business story about Southwestern Airlines, okay, after the 9/11 attack. So that business was like a budget airline that everyone would, you know, it was like the Jetstar of Australia, or maybe even back in the days, Tiger, you know, really bottom of the barrel, uncomfortable chairs, stuck right next to each other, no food, nothing comfortable. And long story short is, don't quote me on the exact numbers, but when I can't remember where I read this, but they had $1 billion in cash in the bank when 9/11 hit, okay? And every other airline was luxury this, added features here, debt through their roof, new planes. Their model was to buy old planes and refurb them and keep them going. So they ran a really cash flow positive, wealthy business. But what happened is 9/11 hits. Most airlines are almost about to go bankrupt. No flights are around. No one's allowed to get airborne. But when the skies are clear and the airports reopen, Southwest is the first business off the ground. And they're making routes to certain airlines and international airlines faster than any other airline in America. And therein lies born a brand that has existed till now, is highly successful. I don't think they've had a year that they haven't been profitable in business.
Which is very rare in the airline industry.
Very rare in the airline industry, okay? So just share, before we jump into the heritage-only story, share with me the importance of cash flow and not being stupid with the money when it comes. Like a lot of business owners can see 12 months worth of bookings, 24 months worth of bookings. Let me go spend the money before I even earn it. Talk me through that.
See, and that's probably where a lot of the studios, probably in the first couple of years when we entered the market, started to collapse, because back then it was common for studios to buy the property that they're in and spend big, like make it look amazing, which rightly so, you want it to look amazing, but it doesn't make any sense to spend, 1.5 million on a property, which then you're renting back from yourself, just to show couples a couple of prints and albums, especially when everything is being digitized. And now the new form of acquisition is coming through Meta, even like wedding expos now. Wedding expos are dead. People we don't go to wedding expos anymore. We stopped many years ago because, one, you're effectively just knocking on people's doors hoping they answer, but they're not ready to make a decision at that point. Whereas if you have a big enough social and online presence, they're going to find you there.
Yeah.
And if they don't find you, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
It's funny you touched on Southwest and their cash flow and what they were doing. I was mentioning to your content producer just before. So we allow our team to shoot with any gear that they're comfortable with. They don't have to use a certain make or model. And the camera gear I use is a Nikon, and the model specifically is a D800. Now, that was the latest model 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when I started. And as you work the tools, your shutter count gets high. It's almost like the mileage on a car. You need to replace the camera. But obviously when you're shooting with the same camera for years, you can't go buy a brand new one because they don't exist anymore. There's always a new version. But because I loved the camera, the ergonomics of it, the feel, I knew exactly what its tolerance was and capabilities were, I just jumped on Gumtree and kept buying a new one. Now, it wasn't a financial decision because like these cameras cost $3,000-$4,000 each. It wasn't a financial decision to go buy the old predecessor off Gumtree for $800. But to that mindset, it was just more, well, it's working. I love it. I'm comfortable with it. I'd rather that than keep investing in the latest gear and the newest studio or whatever it might be. If it's worked already for the last 5, 6, 7 years, why should you break it? So I think it is, look, there needs to be a bit of financial discipline as well. You can't just get carried away. But in my mind, I'd rather invest that extra $2,000-$3,000 that I might have just saved back into advertising to collect another, 5 or 6 brides. So it is important.
Love it. Tell me, you said distraction was the most important thing in COVID. So market leader in the photography space, and somehow during COVID you decide instead of sitting and biding time, because it could have been easier for you to just go get a full-time job and have serious income come in to replace what you'd lost. Instead, you go and open another business.
Yeah.
So tell us about Heritage Only and where that idea was born.
So I've always, even before photography, had an interest in heritage plates. And basically heritage plates are the first ever issued plates to vehicles in the early 1900s. So in Victoria and New South Wales, they all have it. They gave everyone numbers to put on their cars. And that was effectively your number plate, just a number. And so I've always had an interest in these things, and I've been a big collector of them over the years. And I remember every time I bought a plate, the experience I had, this is all well before COVID, the experience I had never matched the expectation of what I was buying. Like in my mind, I'm buying this luxury item because these number plates are quite expensive, but yet the experience of buying it in a warehouse on a plastic chair, it's cold, there's hot jam donuts being sold outside. You're waiting hours on hours to get to the number plate because in between they're selling cars and memorabilia and all this stuff. To me, the experience never made sense. But at the time, that was it. There was nothing else to ground your expectations other than if you want to buy a plate, this is how you do it. And so when the 2021 lockdowns hit, I remember I got to this point in October. This was almost my breaking point where I actually almost had enough completely. And I just said to my IT team and my marketing team, I said, listen, we're going to try something different because I don't know what's going on now. This Delta thing looks like it's going to be here for a while. I want an auction platform to be built. And I remember my IT team looked at me and he goes, listen, we can do this, but you realize this is going to cost, X amount. And I go, yeah, that's not going to happen because we're not working at the moment. You've got this much to spend. This is what I want you to do with it. Make me something that does X, Y, and Z, but I need it in 3 months, and this is how much we can afford. He went for it. He did it. 3 months of development, all in-house, back and forth every day, hours on hours, testing it, experimenting, creating dummy auctions to actually, understand the interface and how it all interacts and works. But 3 months on, we built a platform, an auction platform. It ticked all the boxes that we needed for now. And we thought, okay, let's do it. Let's start trying to sell some number plates, heritage plates specifically, online. Let's see if we can give people a better experience. That was challenge number 1. Challenge number 2 was you got no credibility, you got no track record, you got no vendors, and you got no buyers. How are you going to build a marketplace where people can come here and start transacting? That was challenge number 2. So then this is when the discussion with marketing kicks off. And the discussion went along the lines of what I just said. Go find me this audience. We know what they love. We know what interests they have. Now, obviously not all of them can be pigeonholed into the same, but we know roughly what interests they have. We know roughly the demographic. Can you find them for me? It was virtually impossible to do what we did, but one of the key strategies we adopted, and it worked really well, we wanted to effectively get people to engage with our Instagram account as much as possible. And once they engaged with it, we can then do a lookalike audience on Meta to follow more people like that and then expand that into other regions of Melbourne. So we did that and it worked. We managed to get people to the Instagram account. We had to, obviously, to get them in, we had to give them an auction. We couldn't just do a brand awareness for 12 months and hope people eventually come to us. We had to give them something. So in the first instance, I sacrificed 3 of my own plates, put them up for auction with no reserve, which that in itself was enough to get people interested. Because if there's a chance of buying this plate at 20 or 30% below market value, sure enough, I'm happy to wear that reduction in what it's worth. But the way I see it is that's just me investing back into the brand, and bringing people to this platform.
Nice. I like that.
And so we did that. We did that in May 22, was the first online auction. We had 3 plates. They all transacted. And I remember really, really well, as soon as the first auction concluded, we had a huge cohort of these bidders come through to the website and they started registering accounts. And it was at that point I realized we hit something because there was no plate yet. We didn't release what the next auction was going to be, but people were still happy to come in, submit full name, email, upload a driver's license, submit a credit card detail.
Wow.
In anticipation for what was going to come next month.
Okay. So pause, hold on. You sold those 3 license plates.
All 3 were gone.
And undervalue, overvalue?
We sold them for about, call it 12.5% below where they should have sold.
Okay, cool. So you've taken a little loss for brand building.
Correct.
Cool. And then boom.
It was that moment. It was that moment we realized we've hit the community. Even though we only had maybe 7 or 8 active bidders on that night for those 3 plates, and there was only 2 unique buyers. One of them actually bought 2 plates and then the third went to someone else. We knew at that point, even though there was 7 or 8 active bidders, seeing that volume of names come in after the auction concluded. And I think what stood out, there was one particular buyer, or I wouldn't call him a buyer, but there was one particular collector we knew really well because we were following him on our socials. He registered an account. And then as soon as I realized who he was, and he was already on here, even though he didn't participate in that auction, that was when we thought, okay, we've got it. Let's the lookalike audience has worked. The platform is working. People enjoyed the engagement. Otherwise, why would you register straight after an auction when there's nothing else available? It was at that point we realized we think we hit something.
So what is it about that strategy there, the market research, the development of the website, that you felt you've taken what you've learned in photography and the brand you built there? What was it about that marketplace that you understood so well that you could translate so quickly to this other market?
I think what it was more just the execution on it. So, it took us, call it 10 years to develop our reputation with photography to get to where we are today. And, well, not today, but 15 years on, but 10 years in, our reputation was very solid. Everything about that, we effectively just squeezed it into 3 months because we had no other alternative.
Yeah.
You can't do a marketing campaign for 12 months and then release a product. You effectively got, well, the reality is we have to list something on the website to get people's engagement. We gave the campaign about 6-7 weeks from when the plates were announced to when the auction had to finish.
Yeah.
But effectively, it's almost like your 10 years or 15 years of experience in doing it in photography. Like, I didn't have to look for a new website team or an IT team. I knew who was going to develop it for us. I didn't have to look for a new marketing team. We knew who was going to do it for us, And then for me, the teachings of, what I don't enjoy with how the other platforms were selling plates to what I think it should be like, that's been true from day one. So never did we make a decision from day one of, well, what does everyone else do? Let's just copy them. It was, how should it be done? Even if it means we're going to get a haircut on the price, even if it's going to cost more, all of that was irrelevant. It was, let's give people the experience they deserve. And if we give them the true experience, then it will work.
That's really cool. Like, essentially, you're saying you were a consumer.
I knew what I wanted.
You weren't happy with the way the product was being delivered. So you found a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you wanted to solve it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then, so auction 1, you've taken a little hit for building the brand. Where does it go from there?
So the second auction, so May 22 was the first auction. I believe the next auction was in July. This time we put 4 plates up. Again, all of them with no reserves. 2 of the plates that we sold actually broke, I guess, a sales record, not just with us, because we only just had a transaction of 3 plates, but even across the whole community, no one had seen a 6-digit sell for above, I think at the time we sold them for $58,000.
Wow.
And that was a record. No one had done that before.
Yeah.
So much so even at the second auction, I reckon our website was probably 2 or 3% away from crashing. The volume of traffic coming to the platform at that same moment, like, you're looking at all the stats all around Australia and you're like, okay, I kind of like that this auction is getting a great result, but I also want the auction to finish pretty quickly because I don't know how much more traffic we can take.
Yeah.
That was concerning.
So how many people were we talking potentially
thousands.
online? Thousands.
There would have been thousands all at the same time.
Crazy.
And then at the back end, you got all these, I think at that point on the second auction, we probably went from 7 or 8 bidders from the first to about 45, 50 bidders on the next. And again, you can make an account and not bid, but we had at that point 50 bidders registered who could all actively participate. We sold 2 6-digits for almost $60,000 each, and then 2 other 6-digits, I think, for about 45 or thereabouts. And like, these weren't just, you've hit market value. You've now exceeded what these things were worth on any other platform who may have tried to sell them.
Yeah.
So that was the second auction. And then basically at that point, we just kept doing it. We kept doing monthly online auctions. But slowly, although this was a platform built initially to sell some of my own personal plates, we started getting sellers coming to us, vendors coming to us saying, okay, well, hey, these results are phenomenal. Can you sell my plate? Which wasn't initially part of the concept. But then it's like, okay, well, sure, why not? Like, why? I don't want to sell any more of my plates now. If we've already got enough credibility and people know the brand and they trust it, and you're happy with these results, absolutely. So now we started taking other people's plates and selling it on their behalf. And so that continued on for 12 months. We sponsored major events. We doubled down on advertising. We, again, a lot of tricky ways of getting in front of people where you're probably not meant to do it, but it worked. But we got in front of them all.
Yeah.
I actually remember, I was actually talking to my kids about this the other day. Again, when you've got no brand, when you've got no credibility or no brand awareness, you really need to get in front of the right people. And the good thing with heritage plates is, for most collectors, they put these plates on their cars. And so one thing we did, and I probably did this for about 9 to maybe 12 months straight. I don't know if I actually ever told you this, but every night I'd get the kids in the car. we'd go around driving through all the shopping centres looking for cars that have heritage plates on them. And every time we saw a heritage plate, we put a brochure on their windscreen. And the brochure was advertising the upcoming monthly online auction.
Wow.
So like it wasn't, sure enough, Meta was doing the lookalike audience for us, and we had Google, search to find high intent users. But it's almost like, okay, this is all lovely. In the end, this guy has a heritage plate on his car. This is my user. This is my buyer or seller of the future.
Wow.
And at the very least, this is a communicator to other people in his cohort. Hey, have you heard about heritage only? Check out this website.
Wow.
At the very least.
I love it.
And we did that probably for 9 months straight. I drive around Toorak, Chaston Shopping Centre, Doncaster, Greensboro Plaza. And I always picked shopping centres because you have a high density of cars.
Yeah.
I didn't want to drive around local streets looking because that's just weird.
Yeah.
But then when you go to shopping centres in certain, geographic regions of Melbourne, they're all clustered together.
Yeah,
you go valet parking at Doncaster, there's always a 3-digit there. Just go slot a little brochure and walk away.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And you got the kids involved.
All the kids were involved. So we usually got them
so
an ice cream just to, guys, 1 more hour tonight, let's do it.
What a great life lesson.
And everywhere we went, we had brochures on us.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, mate, it's a great life lesson to teach your kids, because the danger is that we give them a comfortable life. They don't even know what it takes to win, and they don't know the hard work. So it's a great thing that you got them involved. For someone who's watching, thinking this guy's he's launched this heritage plate business, he's auctioning plates off, and he's built a business out of that. Like for someone who doesn't really understand why collectibles are such a valuable thing in the marketplace as an investor, But in particular, obviously COVID, people were cashed up. The governments were handing out money, governments were printing money.
Yep.
And so collectibles became this commodity that people really valued. What is it about a heritage plate that attracts someone to want to put that on their car rather than just a free license plate from?
Yeah. Look, it's the history behind them is incredible. There is they're a finite supply. There's only so many heritage plates in circulation. But I think ultimately, especially after COVID, because even before COVID, there was already a track record of these things performing exceptionally well. Like as an example, a 3-digit plate in, say, the late 80s might have transacted for anywhere between maybe $5,000 and $10,000. The same 3-digit today will probably transact for maybe 450,000. 6 digits 8-9 years ago were selling for maybe $12,000. The same ones are now selling for maybe $25,000-$30,000. So, there's already been enough history to show that they do grow and appreciate in value. But I think to your point, why do people keep gravitating towards it? It's luxury. When you're at a point in life where you can buy that prestige car or, the Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, even normal cars, to then elevate it with a prestige luxury number plate, it differentiates you again from everyone else that's there. And it's not a Melbourne specific thing or a Sydney. This is global. Like even in Dubai, just recently, the world's most expensive plate transacted for like $22 million. Hong Kong is the same. LA is the same. It's effectively, it's like putting a Rolex on a car. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But look, there's obviously some financial gains in there as well, which is another motivating factor behind them too.
Yeah. So if you got 2 lookalike Ferraris, one has a 2-digit on it, the other has a 6-digit on it.
Yeah.
The one with the 2-digit is
you can tell.
Yeah, and like clearly it's made that car more valuable.
Yeah,
especially if the plate would even transact with the car.
Correct.
In that scenario.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was speaking to someone recently, and this was my methodology as well back in the day. But most cars, 99% of them do depreciate. Most cars. The number plate doesn't. Well, I won't say it doesn't because that sounds like I'm giving financial advice, but in most cases, the number plate appreciates.
Yeah.
So in this instance, you've bought a plate for, call it 200,000. You've bought a car for 200,000. you give it a few years, there's a good chance that number plate will be worth more and that car will be worth less. But all things being equal, still zero, net. You know, so it's again, I know there is a big case to buy these as investments, but at the same time, I see them as luxury.
Yeah,
you know, same reason why you know, a girl might go buy an Hermes, you know, Birkin bag. It says something about where you are in life and possibly also the milestones you've achieved to get to a point where you can afford a $500,000 plate on a $500,000 car.
And so what's the next chapter look like? Where is Attia photography going? Where's Heritage Only going?
So I think with photography, look, everything now, thankfully, is relatively back to normal post-COVID. The team has grown even further since we came out of lockdowns. The reviews are great. The traffic of inquiries we get, like the inquiry levels are more than what we ever had in the past. And I think that goes down to doubling down when everyone else was struggling. And we know for sure there are less competitors in the market than there was pre-COVID. And so I would like to think that we have picked up some of that work. But anyone that tries to enter the market now and start up a photography company, it's hard because, you know, you look at the pricing that we charge, it's almost unviable for anyone else to enter the market unless they get the kind of volume we have, but you can't get that volume without brand awareness and reputation and everything else. So photography, it's still plodding along. Team's happy, and I think we're happy with that one. With Heritage Only, this year is actually a very big year for us. So we've completely transitioned now to only live events. We don't do any online auctions. This year we've committed to 7 auctions. You can see where the industries clash. 7 auctions this year. Vic Roads have joined us as an auction partner in 24. So now we facilitate the large majority of auctions for them. We even have a situation now where we don't have enough spots to give to private sellers to put their plates in, because obviously we're running these quarterly events and then auctions in between. So we've introduced a new format for auctions, which is a boardroom auction. Our first one will be in 5 weeks from now, and the plates we've got for this selection is absolutely second to none. One of the plates has been with the same family for about 70 years.
70 years.
70 years.
Wow.
Hasn't hit the market. No one knows what it is, obviously, except us, but it's absolutely phenomenal.
Wow.
So we've curated a selection of about 8 plates. It's invitation only. Unless we know who you are and you're an established collector, you can't come, politely. But you still have access to online bidding. And the reason behind that is, as great as our large events are, you know, there might be 400 or 500 people in the room. There might be 70, 80 genuine bidders, which is great. That's a huge volume. But for the other, you know, 200, 300 who are there just spectating, that's amazing. We want you to enjoy the show. You know, it's a part of the nurturing process. But for the premium, the significant heritage plates, like the one that's been in the family for 70 years, we just want to make sure it's done the right way to the right people.
Yeah. Okay.
So that event will be, we call that the boardroom auction. That will be in a few weeks from now.
Cool. You said sort of invite only, but how do you qualify someone to be in that?
So one thing we've done it, and we've done it really well, is since day one of Heritage Only, we've kept tabs on what people inquire about. And generally speaking, you'll only make an inquiry if you own that plate or a collection of plates. And so we look at basically what inquiries we've had, what their collection is likely to be, who has transacted with us in the past, whether you're a vendor or a buyer. And then we effectively go, the room only has capacity of 100, 150 people. Out of the 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people we know, which of that cohort do we know are serious?
Yeah.
And I think now that we're in this position where we know our database really well and we've nurtured these relationships, we know which plates will gravitate to which families. Like every plate has a buyer. We know generally when a plate comes to us, we know who's going to buy it.
Yeah.
We just need to present it to them in the right environment. And 9 out of 10 times, we're not wrong.
So to some degree, you've almost, in the most respectful way, sort of owned the market because they're clients that you understand and know what they're looking for as well. So they're going to pick up the phone and call you first if they want another plate, or call you first if they want to sell a plate.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that. Buyers don't give us too much information. So it's quite common. We'll go, actually, I remember our very first live event. I was speaking to our auctioneer. His name's Paul Zamalos. He's awesome. And we had plates at that auction with no reserves, which is common. Not common, but for us, it's common. We like doing it because it's a marketing thing. And he said to me, Ramy, what if we get a bid of $5,000 on the plate? I go, just trust me. The buyers are in the room. It will sell for the price it's meant to sell for. And it was a concept at the time that was really hard for him to understand because he's never sold anything with no reserves. You don't sell, property. You don't go to a residential house and go, it's no reserve today. But that concept was really hard to understand. But when you know your market really well, you can take very calculated risk that will work. So to your point earlier, buyers generally won't reach out to us and show interest in specific plates, although we know they want that plate. But the vendors obviously will always reach out to us. So quite common now, any plate that, if there's a vendor who wants to sell, generally speaking, it will always come to us first as an inquiry. If we can't facilitate it, we then see it go to an online platform. Not because they weren't happy with what we could offer them. It was just generally they had to wait too long. So, for example, if you want to put your plate now in a live event, you've got to wait about 9 months because we're very careful in how we control that supply because we don't want to be doing what everyone else does and chuck 50 plates in one auction. That's probably the quickest way to destroy scarcity and desirability, which is how you sell luxury. So for us, we are selective on the plates we take. But yeah, the vendors are pretty open books. We know what their intentions are. Buyers do keep their cards close to their chest, but again, human behavior is very predictable. You can see what's already in their collection. You know with certainty what will likely be another plate they would want to add to it.
Yeah. Tell me, has success changed you at all?
I don't think it has. Actually, you know what? There was a point in time where things did get different and I didn't feel comfortable about it. And when I picked up on it, I sort of transitioned quickly away. I think in most people's minds, the idea of having success or wealth or money or whatever means you follow a certain path. You might go business class or you might upgrade the car or you might upgrade the house. To me, none of that stuff had any appeal to me. I think with success, having more freedom was the joy that I got out of it. Not upgrading my lifestyle. I'm still happy to wear my favorite Casio watch.
I was gonna.
I love it.
Question.
Still my favorite watch. But I think the joy of just knowing you can do what you want when you want, and still maintaining great relationships with the team. Everyone that's involved in all the businesses. I think that's the key to it.
How important do you think partner choice has
100%
has made in success, but also in quality of life?
Everything, absolutely everything. I think, if it wasn't, well, it's fun. Actually, you know what? To drive that message home, it was actually Laura that bought me my first camera. And she bought it because I had an interest in it, but she was already, pushing me in a direction of, look, just see. She didn't give it to me to say go start a business with it, but she bought me a camera because I had an interest in photography. Even when Heritage only was in the early phases of, developing the platform, like, again, that was still a tricky time because we were in lockdowns and photography was, burning all around me. But even then she was still there pushing me saying, look, just keep pushing with it. Like proceed with the Heritage. Don't stop. See where it falls. It might work, it might not work. But don't not have a crack at it. And I think it's you need that rock. You need that stability, because when everything else in business blows up, like COVID, or maybe something doesn't go the way it's meant to happen at an auction, whatever it might be, you need to have that certainty that when you get home, there's no judgment, there's no criticism, there's no I told you so, how much money did you lose? It's just nothing but comfort and reassurance that whatever's happened. Let's get it right the next time around.
Yeah, it's funny the point you make. Like I remember this point. Maria was pregnant with our second daughter, and this was, it's now we're finally coming out of the COVID impacts on our business. And at this point, somehow I've kept this thing going, but there's no success yet. We've only really kept it going to, as I said, tread water or hibernate, to be able to then come out and play offense while everyone's still playing defense. And I remember it was a couple of days before she was about to give birth. We were swimming in the pool in the backyard, and I sort of said to her, I really feel like a failure. Like, I built this thing up for this many years. It made all this success. And then COVID comes along, government comes in, does whatever the hell they want with no regard for the impact of people and businesses who have genuinely worked hard for their success. And, it's funny because in that moment, your partner could go, well, you are.
Yep.
Or you suck.
Judgment.
Or
yeah.
I'm not having the lifestyle that you promised when we met, or I'm not having the lifestyle that I see on Instagram and TikTok and whatever that people are living. And all she said to me was, you're not.
Yeah.
The fact that you're still where you are right now, you're still winning and succeeding.
Yeah. So
don't give up. Anything is possible. You're capable of anything. But you just got to back yourself to do it. And that line, that sentence, literally made me go, all right, I'm playing offense.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been given the freedom to play free. I'm not going to let my head play games on me. I'm not going to let my, all the lack of success or failure that's happened as a result of COVID. I'm not going to play the victim here. I'm going to go play offense, right? So, clearly, you just talked about, yes, money impacted you. There was a phase that you felt like, I'm becoming someone who I'm not. How important is it that your partner is also aligned with the sort of life that you want to live? Because, let's be honest, right? For women these days, if they're watching Instagram enough, they're seeing women get flown on private jets, buy luxury cars and items and whatever. And yes, they can have these material things, but how important is that they're willing to align with you with the quality of life?
You can't have it both ways.
Yep.
You just can't. And I think to your point about having a partner that understands the situation you're in and not passing judgment, not criticizing, not comparing, if you don't have a stable foundation there, it almost doesn't matter if you make every decision right in business, it's still going to fall apart eventually. You need to be coming home to peace. You can't be coming home to stress and anxiety, So it's hard because, when you get married at a young age, how do you know? How do you know this is the right person? If we become successful or if we become failures, will they support me? Will they back me? You don't know what they would be like in that situation, but you know what they would be like in the situation you're with them in today. And the situation at that moment, when you meet them, it's like, okay, all things being equal, this is great. I actually love how you think. I love where your values are. I love your moral is, your morals are. If at any of those, if any of those things were triggered or just red flags, even before you're together, even before you have a business or businesses, it's like, well, then maybe if you then pursued it and just ignored it, maybe it just gets amplified later on. So I think, although you may not know how they might respond and how they might be in the future, I think how they are in that moment when you meet them, that's really the sign. If I had any concerns or if Laura had any concerns of marrying me, then obviously it wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have got married with each other.
Yeah.
But everything, all things being equal, this is great.
And do you think, obviously you're a husband, father of 4 kids. has business tested your faith?
During the tough times, yes. But the reality is everything's a tough. There's always a tough. Every day has its own challenges. Like COVID, I think, you can almost put that in a separate basket altogether. There are days when you have to deal with things that are just completely outside what's required. And I say this to a lot of people. Half the problems we're trying to solve, it's not because you made a mistake. It's not because the website failed or photographer did anything incorrectly. It's usually because people are just stupid. Some common sense wasn't applied. And then here you are just trying to work through it. So, look, there's always challenging days, but I think what's important is, if you have more positive than negative days, which is generally the case, you're always winning.
Yeah. I've got two more questions for you and we'll wrap up. The first one is I want to show you a video first. So my wife shared this with me this morning and I thought, well, there's no way that we don't watch this clip. So I want to get your reaction to it. This is Eric Dane, the guy from he was in Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, yeah?
I can't remember his character, what his name was.
These words are for you. I tried. I stumbled sometimes, but I tried. Overall, we had a blast, didn't we? I remember all the times we spent at the beach. The two of you, me and Mom, in Malibu, Santa Monica. Santa Monica, Hawaii, Mexico. I see you now playing in the ocean for hours, my water babies. Those days, pun intended, were heaven. I want to tell you 4 things I've learned from this disease, and I hope you won't just listen to me. I hope you'll hear me. First, live now. Right now. In the present. It's hard, but I learned to do that. For years, I would wander off mentally, lost in my head for long chunks of time, wallowing in worry and self-pity, shame, and doubt. I'd replay decisions, second-guess myself. I should have done this, I never should have done that. No more. Out of pure survival, I am forced to stay in the present. But I don't want to be anywhere else. The past contains regrets. The future remains unknown. So you have to live now. The present is all you have. Treasure it. Cherish every moment. Second, fall in love. Not necessarily with a person, although I do recommend that as well. But fall in love with something. Find your passion, your joy. Find the thing that makes you want to get up in the morning. Drive you through the entire day. I fell in love for the first time when I was about your age. I fell in love with acting. That love eventually got me through my darkest hours, my darkest days, my darkest years. I still love my work. I still look forward to it. I still want to get in front of a camera and play my part. My work doesn't define me, but it excites me. Find something that excites you. Find your path, your purpose, your dream. Then go for it. Really go for it. Third, choose your friends wisely. Find your people and allow them to find you, and then give yourselves to them. The best of them will give back to you. No judgment, no conditions, no questions asked. I'm so thankful for my very close family and friends. Every single one has stepped up. I can't do even the little things I used to do. I can't drive around town, go to the gym, get coffee, hang out. I've learned to embrace alternatives. My friends come to me, we eat together, watch a game, listen to music. They don't do anything special, they just show up. That's a big one. Just show up. And love your friends with everything you have. Hang on to them. They will entertain you, guide you, help you, support you, and some will save you. Finally, fight with every ounce of your being and with dignity. When you face challenges, health or otherwise, fight. Never give up. Fight until your last breath. This disease is slowly taking my body, but it will never take my spirit. The two of you are different people, but you're both strong and resilient. You inherited resiliency from me. That's my superpower. You knock me down, I bounce right up, and I keep coming back. I get up again and again and again. Mark says I'm like a cat, except a cat has 9 lives and I'm on number 15, easily. So when something unexpected hits you, and it will because that's life, fight and face it with honesty, integrity, and grace, even if it feels or seems surmountable. I hope I've demonstrated that you can face anything. You can face the end of your days. You can face hell with dignity. Fight, girls, and hold your heads high. Billy in Georgia, you are my heart. You are my everything. Good night. I love you. Those are my last words.
Crazy, huh?
Wow.
Tell me, what does that do for you? What do you think of that?
That's incredible.
Yeah. Pretty crazy, huh?
It's so it's a shame that because he passed away as well recently.
Yeah, that's right. I think this message came out after he had it planned for it to show
until
to
after
his girls after.
It's consistent with what everyone says at that moment in their life. It's like, what are you doing? Just be happy.
Yeah.
Be happy. Live now. And like he figured that out earlier, you know, but maybe some people through a crisis, you know, it hits them. But I think that the hard part is it's like, why do we need a crisis in our life to realize that? You know, imagine if you could adopt that line of thinking now when everything's good.
Yeah.
You're healthy, kids are healthy, partner's healthy, work is okay.
Yeah.
You know, why do we have to wait for everything to fall apart to then go, wow, my kid swimming in the beach was the peak of my happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
To round the podcast out, so we ask every guest this one question, and that is basically, what do you believe is your DNA entrepreneurship? So what is the DNA that makes you an entrepreneur? What's your unique superpower, as he said?
I think being delusionally optimistic is my superpower.
Yeah.
I think you can do, I think everything's possible.
Yeah.
And just because someone else hasn't done it, or it might not seem like the rational thing to do, I think if you're delusionally optimistic that it can be done, you just have that perseverance to see it through, even if other people doubt that it might not be the right choice.
Well, that's a great place to finish. Thank you, Ramy. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me,
Good on you,
David.
man. All the best.